comes to Bo Nix, one of my favorite Oregon players of all time. Like, week 2 of a rookie quarterback. He's throwing the ball off his back foot. He's throwing picks in the end zone. He's not seeing defenders. Yeah. Welcome to life with a rookie quarterback. C.J. Stroud ruined this for everybody last year. You know what I mean? C.J. Stroud last year, taking the Texans, it's like, I don't know if you've watched C.J. Stroud. That guy's different. He just is. That guy comes along once in a 5, 6, 7 year, maybe not even that.
Wait, you're saying he's Bo Callahan?
He is once in a he's a once in a generation talent, I believe. Look, Patrick Mahomes is on a different trajectory, so you can't really compare those two.
He's on the Brady plan.
But yeah, but like C.J. Stroud, that guy's on a different level. He just is. He is on a different level. But other than that, like most rookie quarterbacks, like, have you seen what Will Levis is doing in year 2? Have you seen what Bryce Young's doing in year 2? Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Jane Dan. The NFL is really hard. The NFL is really, really hard to play quarterback in. It's going to take some time. Forget about C.J. Stroud because it doesn't happen that way all that often. But we're going to dive into the full slate of NFL. But let's start, Brenden, with Monday Night Football last night. Hey, live for the Falcons as they go into Philadelphia and literally steal a game on Monday Night Football. That was thievery. That was robbery. That is, if we are the Falcons, you hop on the bus, you get to the plane, you get out of town as fast as possible. Grand larceny, they stole that game. And here's what I wonder. Philadelphia fans, well, they're a special breed, aren't they? Aren't the Philadelphia fans? I can only imagine what the morning shows in Philly are doing right now over there. Because you remember how that season ended. That season ended with Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts apparently, allegedly, not really seeing eye to eye. Coordinators were fired. Fences were mended. We're back. It's the city of brotherly love. The Eagles are back. You lose at home to the Falcons in a game where you've got a lead in the fourth quarter. You've got a 3-point lead with 1:40 to go on third down. I am always amazed. At these NFL coaches because they are the elite best of the best in terms of football brains. Yet, simple basic strategy that, Brenden, I'm sure your little brother who plays Madden would understand. There's 1:40. Atlanta doesn't have a timeout. Let's run the ball with Saquon Barkley. If he gets 3 yards, which we're paying him $20-some million to do, he gets 3 yards, we win this game. He doesn't get 3 yards. We take the ball down. We take the clock down to 59 seconds, kick the field goal. Now what we got to do is keep you out of the end zone. You've got a minute to go with no timeouts in the NFL. That's really hard. But instead, you outthink yourself. Now, listen. Saquon Barkley is a professional athlete, and professional athletes are judged on a different level. You can't drop that pass. That moment, that place, Saquon Barkley can't drop that pass. But why are you throwing the ball there? Why are you throwing the ball? You saved them a timeout. You did all that work to have them burn all their timeouts and the 2-minute warning. And you just essentially gifted them a free timeout. You gifted them 40 seconds. It was a perfect play call, I will say that. And Saquon Barkley's got to catch it. But, I was talking to Mike Parker last week. Brenden, Texas's stadium, it's Darrell Royal Stadium, right?
I've been.
The great Darrell Royal at Texas, he ran the option. Oh, boy, love the option. And when they asked old Darrell Royal, hey, Darrell, why don't you throw the ball? You know what he said? He said, when you throw the ball, 3 things can happen. 2 of them ain't good. And it's kind of true in certain situations like that. turn around, hand the ball to Saquon Barkley. You're paying him so much money to run the ball. You're not paying him money to go swing out in the flat. Run the ball between the tackles. Heck, run it down to a minute. You're on the 5. At that point, you might even go for it because you've got your brotherly shove that you picked up, I think, 4 times during the game. Nah. We're going to go swing pass. A little swing pass out into the flat. Off of Saquon's fingertips. And again, going back to my why coaches are insane. One play changes the entire outcome of that game. And while it is September the 17th today, what's going to happen in December? And Philadelphia looks back. And maybe in that division. Now, that division might not be really that formidable. But you look back and you go like, why don't we have a first-round bye? Why don't we have a home game? What's going yeah, because remember when you didn't run the ball in September? When the other team didn't have any timeouts, with a minute 40 to go and a 3-point lead on the 7. There's Monday Night Football. There's a whole bunch of football over the weekend. We get into our good, bad, ugly assessment of all things NFL. That's next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right. Week 2, NFL, behind us now. And, I have a new rule that I've adopted in the NFL, which is the fact that they're not playing starters in the preseason games. I think the month of September is a time to make observations, not conclusions. I still think there is a good number of teams that maybe look a little mediocre right now, but when you look at who's on their team and going by past performances and coaching and everything else, they're going to have it figured out by the time Halloween rolls around. And I just think you are seeing some slow starts by certain teams, Baltimore Ravens, where they didn't play any of their starters in the preseason. And maybe some of these other teams have caught some fire because, I don't know, maybe there was like in Minnesota, I think Sam Darnold played a healthy amount in the preseason. But either way, we're making observations. We are not drawing conclusions. But normally this is the point where we play our fun game called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I have tweaked it a little bit, Brenden. I didn't tell you this, but I've tweaked it a little bit. We're going to play a new game, a subset of the first game. This game is called Are they good? Here we go. Here are the contestants. First up, Brenden, the New Orleans Saints. Are they good? Are the New Orleans Saints good?
Yeah, they're legit. They're legit.
You say legit. Now they beat the Panthers week 1. Oh, everybody's gonna beat the Panthers this year. More on that. The Panthers, they're not good. So they beat the Panthers, but they beat the dog out of the Panthers, 47-10. Then they go to Dallas. 2 old Big D. Going through the Big D. I don't mean Dallas. Only this time we do. 44 points they put up on the Dallas Cowboys team. A defense that's got Micah Parsons on maybe one of the best defensive players in the league. And they put up 44 points on the road.
Yep. And what I mentioned to you this morning, when you're breaking records, they're the first team since the 2007 Patriots. They were pretty good to score more than 40 and then have a couple interceptions each game as well. So they're, Derek Carr turning back the clock, but an experienced quarterback. They got great weapons at receiver. Alvin Kamara's still a dude. And that defense just smacked around Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. So, yeah, they're for real, Justin.
How big of a week did the guy who picked up Alvin Kamara in fantasy have?
Oh, no, he was drafted.
That was a nice. I'm just saying. I'm saying the guy. Yeah, probably drafted like mid to late though, right?
Yeah, it was. It was a little later this year, but no, I played him and lost. So yeah, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
You can blame the left tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who just ripped away a lot of yards and a sure touchdown to George Pickens. Sorry about that. You can blame that left tackle.
He was on my bench. I knew it was a tough matchup with the. Who'd they play again?
Play the Broncos.
Oh, yeah, he had Pat Surtain guarding him, so no, I wasn't going to play George Pickens that game. It's all about matchups.
Pickens had a good game, though. The difference is that, Surtain just kept... Okay, can I ask a dumb fantasy football question? Now, I'm also... YouTube can see me. Brenden, I'm raising my hand. This is a dumb question. If you have a receiver who gets a pass interference penalty, which is a spot penalty, do you get those yards?
No.
Boy. Then Surtain really
to your point,
really screwed you.
2 receptions for 29 yards. That's
But he had about 50 other yards in penalty yards.
Yeah, no, that don't
because Surtain kept like he had, and then there was a 40-yard chunk play that Pickens had that was wiped away on a ridiculous holding call. Not the call was correct. The hold was ridiculous. Didn't need to do it. Then had a touchdown taken off the board. Also, Mike Tomlin benched his left tackle because he's like, dude, I don't know if you see all these plays we're making. You keep holding, and we keep getting back. Anyways, we're not here to talk about the Steelers. So, Derek Carr, 243 yards. Did throw a pick, but 2 interceptions. Alvin Kamara, 5.8 yards a carry. 3 tuts for the New Orleans Saints. So you say, yes, New Orleans Saints.
You don't go into Dallas.
You say they're good.
You don't go into Dallas and break a 16-game home win streak for the Cow. Like you said, take away 1 week overreaction. Mm-hmm. You don't overreact over 2 weeks. Like, I'm not saying they're going to be Super Bowl contenders, but you look at it now, the Saints are probably going to win that division. No disrespect to Baker, but I would take New Orleans defense and skill position slightly, but we didn't see them coming. We were kind of ready to write off Derek Carr as a career, so I'm happy to see that. I really am.
Next contestant in Rip City Morning's version of Are They Good? Minnesota Vikings. Are they good? I mean, we knew Justin Jefferson was good. Now left with a quad contusion, but that's a bad bruise. He'll be able to be back. He had what do you have, like 80-yard touchdown?
It was so long. No, it was like 95.
95-yard touchdown.
It was so long.
So
I didn't think Darnold could throw the ball that far. It was actually pretty impressive.
The Vikings are 2-0. They're putting up points on the 49ers. And I know 49ers were without Christian McCaffrey, and they ultimately lost Debo in that game as well. But the Minnesota Vikings was Sam Darnold. 268 for Sam Darnold, including the 95-yard or 97-yard reception to Justin Jefferson. The Minnesota Vikings, are they good?
Yeah, I think they are.
Okay.
Again, you go back to
Kevin O'Connell's a good coach,
right? I've always
Justin Jefferson is a weapon and 2 years earlier, before they kind of tanked away the season, they had like 15 wins.
Right. No, Kevin O'Connell is a great coach. Obviously, comes from that McVay tree, and he was able to win all those games with Kirk Cousins. And I'm not saying that negatively to Kirk Cousins, but clearly we're seeing a bit of a career revival for Sam Darnold, and I love to see it because in my head, Justin, Sam Darnold is still the dude that cooked Penn State in the 2019 Rose Bowl and just looked amazing.
Yeah.
So
won the Pac-12.
Right. So that's Clay Helton's like, my one win.
Dude, Clay Helton owes him so many millions of dollars.
He does. But I mean, again, Kevin O'Connell, he's going to be able to put a guy like Sam Darnold, who you could call a quote game manager, I suppose. He's going to put him in good positions. It does worry me that they don't really have anybody else outside of Justin Jefferson. But I
think there's about 15 teams in the league that would be like, give me Justin Jefferson and nobody else.
But I forgot, Aaron Jones is their running back. I'm like, oh yeah, so I'm still curious to see how they fit this year.
But you say they're good. You say Vikings are good.
But my asterisk with that, Justin, Green Bay.
They get the Texans next week. Ooh.
Yeah, Green Bay is that division is borderline great, right? Detroit.
How about Green Bay with Malik Willis? Just that's why
I said that division.
Love, no problem. How about Malik Willis had to check out of a pass play because his center barfed on the ball?
I didn't see that play live.
His center
I saw it
hydrated too much, and we've all been there. No, for some of us it wasn't. We didn't drink too much water, but we drink. You drink too much of something, and your belly gets full, and your body just goes.
I did see that.
He barfs on the ball. He snaps the ball, and Malik Willis goes over to does a running play, and I think LaFleur was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "He barfed on the ball." Anyways, yes. Green Bay is good. We knew that. And the fact that they got a win against who'd they play? Against the Colts. And the Colts, they might not be good. But they got a win without their starting quarterback in the NFL. That's hard to do. All right, next up on Are They Good? Chargers. Are the Chargers good?
Yeah, this is the one.
They're 2-0.
This is the one I'm going to say no, Justin.
They're 2-0. Harbaugh is harbaughing the you-know-what out of this team. They are run first, run second.
Yeah, they're gonna come back to earth in a big way these next 2 weeks because they go to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, they are really coming back to earth this week. They're going to get smacked in the mouth.
They're going to play a Steelers team that just shut out. They shut out the Broncos?
No,
or the
didn't
Broncos
shut them out, but kept them out of the end zone.
Okay, because I was going to say, last I checked, that was still a shutout. I know, because I was playing the Pittsburgh defense.
Yeah, kept them out of the end zone.
Yeah, so shut them out.
Now, Pittsburgh also only scored 13 points.
Yeah, that, again, in Pittsburgh, I think that's going to be advantage Steelers, and they play the Chiefs the week after. So welcome to the NFL, Jim Harbaugh.
Justin Herbert, though, he's had some success against the Chiefs.
And he got hurt, but he got hurt in the game. So
he's fine. Got Wolverine blood. He's a 5'4" guy. He's tough.
That's what happens when, Justin Herbert took some unnecessary hits last year that got him hurt. And that was one of the things they said this year is that, he's already taken some, I love Herbert too, but he's not Cam Newton out there. And we saw what happened to Cam Newton when he took enough hits in his career, right? So Jaden Daniels got rolled up when he's like, hey, I'm going to run like it's Arizona State this last weekend, and almost got injured. So got to be careful with that. Herbert dealing with that injury, so I don't think he's going to play against the Steelers this weekend.
You don't think so?
No, I mean.
What did he injure? Because Harbaugh is doing the whole, I'm not a doctor, I can't tell you anything about injuries because I can't diagnose them.
I read that the x-rays were negative, but there could be ligament damage, so they're still waiting to see, but I would imagine they probably just play it safe with him. Maybe
I think
not.
The Chargers should play it safe this week, really. I think they need to just be real cautious with Herbert. Has nothing to do with the fact that they're playing Pittsburgh. I think they need to be uber cautious.
Yeah, I just think like I said, could Jim Harbaugh still win 8-9 games? Yes, he could Harbaugh his way to that. But if we're saying, are they good? I'm not ready to call them good.
You're not ready to call them good?
I haven't seen enough.
All right. Next up. Are the Pittsburgh Steelers good? I guess this is an asterisk.
That's an incomplete.
This is an asterisk because
incomplete.
It's Justin Fields is doing just enough to win them games, but you watch.
Yeah.
If I were to take a piece of tape, if we were to watch football together, Brenden, I would not be watching Red Zone, but if you were to come to the backyard and watch a little football with me, and I were to take a piece of tape and put it over the score, and you just watch Justin Fields play, you would be like, I don't know what he's doing. But you rip that piece of tape off and you go well, he's doing enough to win. Now, there were some atrocious penalties, as I talked about a couple of minutes ago. There's some atrocious penalties in that game. Mike Tomlin was losing his mind. But, yeah, in 2 weeks, the Falcons couldn't move the ball against the Steelers. And the Falcons just got a win on Monday night last night. I think Bo Nix is going to have some trouble all season long because that's just what rookie quarterbacks are going to deal with. But the Broncos couldn't move the ball. Observations, not conclusions, but the Steelers might have the best defense in football. Last year it was the Browns, and the Browns' defense still very good. Last year it was the Browns, but I think the Steelers might have the best defense in football. And I think if you have the best defense in football, you've got a shot. And especially while Justin Fields is not lighting the stat sheet on fire, by no means necessary, he threw for 117 yards in the game against Denver. He threw for 156 yards in the game against the Falcons. But you know what he's not doing? He's not throwing picks.
Yeah, those numbers.
He's not throwing picks. Yeah, that's exactly what Mike Tomlin wants him to do. Just don't throw picks and give us a chance, because I don't know if you see TJ Watt there. That guy is on a mission to win Defensive Player of the Year. He's trying to win it in the first 2 games. Don't throw picks.
Yeah, those are rookie numbers, Justin. That's why he finds himself off my fantasy team, because 100 and some passing yards ain't going to get it done.
Not going to get it done, but he's not throwing picks.
But that all being said, like I said, I still don't know whether they're going to go back to Russell Wilson once he's healthy. That adds a big incomplete for me here.
I will say, I'm going to say this right. They are going to give Russ a shot. I believe Mike Tomlin has continued, because he's getting peppered every single day. What's up with the quarterbacks? Has he won the job? Has he done enough? And Mike Tomlin said, when Russ is healthy, he's quarterback 1. Russ is going to get a shot with this team. Especially Fields is 2-0, but like we just said, he hadn't thrown for over 200 yards. He's got 1 touchdown in 2 games. No picks, which we love.
Just to show,
he's over $156 and a 116.
Just to throw contrasting styles in this game, actually similar styles, I should say. Justin Fields and Justin Herbert have thrown for the exact same number of yards. So that shows how inefficient Harbaugh. Let me rephrase.
This Steelers-Charger game might take an hour and a half to play.
It could. They're going to run the ball so much.
It might take an hour and a half.
So that being said,
15 minutes of or 1 hour of actual game time. There's a 12-minute halftime, maybe some commercials. This game might get over in an hour and a half.
Yeah, I'm starting to think Jim Harbaugh would be proud of Oregon State's offensive game plan in a given week to week. But I need to see another week from the Steelers. That's an incomplete on.
Incomplete. All right, here we go. Last one, which I'm interested to talk about, but I think this team fits this category perfectly. Are the Seattle Seahawks good? Are the Seahawks good? We had a lot of questions going in. Now, they faced the Broncos. Bo Nix did not have a very good day. Threw a couple of picks in that game. Then they went to New England, beat the Patriots. Now, the Patriots we all thought was going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL.
That's just the Panthers.
That's the Panthers now. But the Patriots, they got an opening day win against the Bengals in Cincinnati and then took the Seahawks. Now, I don't think the Seahawks are a Super Bowl team, but year one, Mike McDonald, a defense that looks pretty stout. You still got weapons in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. You go on the road, and I know New England's not going to be very good. They're not making the playoffs. I think that Bengals game is a little bit fool's gold, but because you saw what happens when you wake up the Bengals. But are the Seahawks good? Are they good?
They are, and here's why, Justin. Because I think the Seahawks can absolutely find momentum in a vacuum this year. My brother and I talked about it a little bit yesterday. The Rams might tank. I know you don't tank in the NFL, but when you talk about the injuries that they've had to their stars, it might be.
Is Stafford still healthy?
Yes.
If Stafford stays healthy, I think you'll be all right.
For now, but again, Puka Nacua hurt. Cooper Kupp hurt.
Cooper Kupp's out. I saw that.
Yeah, so they're in bad straits. So and they're 0-2. So
how bad are fantasy football owners hurting right now? Christian McCaffrey's out for a month.
A lot.
Deebo Samuel is now out for what? 3 weeks?
3 weeks to a month. Yeah.
3 weeks to a month. But Cooper Kupp, huge fantasy numbers.
Yep.
He might be out for a month.
Puka was putting up great. There's a lot of injuries this year.
Oh, boy.
I mean, Christian McCaffrey's number one pick in every fantasy draft.
Yeah.
He has not suited up.
Well, and Deebo's probably
right there, too.
Right there.
Yeah, so the Seahawks are good in the sense that they are superior to where the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
Thank you. Another bird. I don't know why I want to say Atlanta Falcons. Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. finally figured it out this last weekend. But I'll take the Seahawks over them. And then the Niners, that's the best team in the division when healthy. They're not.
They're not healthy. All right, so let's do a fun thing. Let's do some schedules real quick. Here's foreseeable future Seahawks schedule. You get the Dolphins at home, likely no Tua. Right?
Skylar Thompson, line it up, baby.
With that defense in Seattle,
12s will fly that day.
What's the line? What's the line on this game? This game is Seahawks favored by 5.5.
Yeah, I'd take that.
So you get Dolphins, no Tua. You got to go to the Lions.
That's tough. Tough game.
Especially because I think the Lions are going to bounce back because I don't know if you saw Dan Campbell just basically threw himself under the bus.
And that's a Monday night game in Detroit.
Monday night game in Detroit. Ugh.
It's tough.
Giants at home.
Yep, that's a dub.
Hey, no. 49ers at home.
A season-defining game.
Probably. In a month.
Yeah.
We don't know about Christian McCaffrey. We don't know about Deebo Samuel. But we're going to learn a lot about Brock Purdy this month, aren't we?
Huge game. For the
I fear for Chris Burkhardt, our good friend who I know you talked to yesterday.
I did.
Because if Brock Purdy has a bad month, Chad Dewing will not shut up about it. He won't.
It's so true.
Chad Dewing will not shut up about it. He will not.
He was an average quarterback.
The whole time, just nothing but a system. But if Brock Purdy has a good month, look out.
George Kittle's also been hurt too, so they've had an unridiculous.
This is what happens when you don't play preseason games. You get hurt.
You coming at the Niners specifically?
I'm saying everybody. Look at all these. Everybody's dealing with injuries. The Rams are dealing with injuries, and maybe it's just a fluke thing. I don't know, but so you get the Dolphins, no Tua at the Lions, Giants at home. Hey, now 49, and then you go to the Falcons. That's a winnable game. Like you might be sitting pretty by Halloween. Then you get the Bills at home. That's gonna be tough.
They will be hard capped by Geno Smith's ability, but they can have a good season.
You have the Bears on the schedule. I think the Seahawks are good. I do. I think the Seahawks are good. All right, there we go. There's a new version of our game of Are they good? Coming up next, I know we're talking NFL today, but we're going to get back into college football real quick. We go on campus next, 620 Rip City Radio. Is this the third quarter song they play at Reeser?
Yeah. Yes, if the fans choose it.
So it's a fan poll. I gotcha. I was like,
it was nice. The music is shaken up. It'll become a little bit more my style, Justin. I've appreciated this season. So whoever on the PA has been good.
Hey, thumbs up there.
Seen some more Daft Punk, stuff like that. Heard One More Time. Like, all right, it's nice.
What's funny is you are now to the point you're 28. You're 10 years past high school. And
thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, you're welcome. Because
I do it to you.
The more and more and more you get past high school and you go to like, this is kind of a crowd pleaser. Like, yeah, they're doing that for you.
Yeah, I know.
They're not doing it for the kids.
I know.
They're playing that song for you.
I know.
The uniforms, those are for the kids. The music, that's for the olds. And you're not an old yet. I'm an old. But
we did get the Super Bowl.
You're starting to creep into the section where the olds sit.
It's true. I mean, hey, my generation did get the Super Bowl halftime artist this time around. So
that is true.
We got Kendrick, baby. I mean, you want to talk about someone who's millennial and Gen Z as it gets? That's
very
Kendrick.
True.
That is Kendrick. So I kind of like the flip-flop, because we've seen the last couple of years a couple artists that were dedicated maybe to, more Gen Xers.
Oh, it was 100% us.
And now we cut back the other.
Well, it went like
Kendrick's kind of like The Weeknd, right?
Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg is obviously, that was me. That was my generation. But there was also Eminem in there, 50 Cent. That was some elder millennial.
You were in Eminem though, right?
Yeah, but
2000s Eminem, obviously.
Yeah. I guess maybe like 50 Cent. Like 50 Cent, that's some elder millennial stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
For 50 Cent. And then obviously Rihanna, that was pure millennial. And now they're coming down towards the younger millennials or the elder Gen Zers with Kendrick Lamar.
This seems to fit in the same window of obviously Usher was way more millennial Gen Xer last year. This fits in with The Weeknd, right? Kendrick is in the same category as The Weeknd, same as like the year it was Maroon 5 and Travis Scott, which that was kind of unique too. So, I don't know if there was anybody more, and we talked about with Pounce last time, so kind of interesting, like, there's probably nobody bigger right now who is at popularity. I mean, he just dismantled Drake.
Could Kendrick Lamar sell out a football stadium?
Yeah.
Could he sell out a football stadium?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's like my gauge of like superstar. Because again, like Taylor Swift sells out football stadiums.
Yeah.
Luke Combs and Morgan Wallen they sell out football stadiums.
Yes.
I just wonder if he could. Here, we need to get on campus real quick because we're getting distracted. I did want to talk about a couple of things. While Oregon is off this week, another Big Ten school comes to Reeser Stadium. Some other interesting news in the Big Ten world. Early lines for college football this weekend. Let's go on campus. All right, Oregon State, 4-point favorites at home against Purdue as the Beavs get back-to-back Big Ten schools. This is going to be a big week for Trent Bray. It is going to be a big week for that facility. It's going to be a big week, especially for that locker room. Every team has a clunker, and some teams get to avoid getting their butt whooped, but 60% of the teams in college football at some point come onto the field and just get whooped. It happens. It's not an indictment. It's just welcome to big boy football. Now what happens is, how do you bounce back from that? And we will find out the X factors. Trent Bray, I know, can coach X's and O's football. He proved it as a defensive coordinator. To his credit, I felt like he did a really good job in the offseason with turmoil and things collapsing all around him to kind of, circle the wagons for the beat. Now, can you keep the locker room after getting your butt whooped? Because that probably wasn't the outcome they thought was going to be at Reeser last weekend. How do they bounce back? Massive, massive game for the Beavs against Purdue. Because, again, I think this is not that I would look at the schedule and go, oh, Purdue. No, the Cougs game, the Boise State game, all more important. But this is a trend-setting game. Character. This is where you learn about the character of your team. Are you going to sit there and cry and pout about Oregon, who just came up and shoved it right down your throat? Or are you going to bounce back and get Purdue? 4-point game there. USC is going to Michigan. Early line, USC 5.5-point favorites. Now, I don't bet on college football because I only bet on stuff on my phone. If I were to bet on college football, Brenden, I would hammer the USC Trojans at 5.5. Michigan's just changed starting quarterbacks. That reeks of desperation.
It's tough.
Alex Orji is going to be taking over as a quarterback from Michigan. They were just in a dogfight with Arkansas State. They beat Arkansas State by 10. We saw what Texas did to them. 5.5 seems very low. Very low. I might change my mind by Friday when we continue to talk college. I would hammer USC at Michigan. Am I too much of a believer in the Trojans?
Yeah, I mean, there's Michigan is my Houston Astros team this year, so Michigan can kick rocks, and
but in terms of like matchups,
like Michigan has problems. That's what I'm saying,
yeah.
Justin. Like they have problems. They've had problems since Harbaugh left. They were starting a former walk-on at quarterback. I'm sorry, that's not going to cut it at Michigan. They had no clear succession plan for J.J. McCarthy, and that's why Jim Harbaugh said, Yankee, see you later, boys. So that being said, no, I think this will be a very rough performance. And then again, Michigan's defense probably still got some dudes. But I take USC for sure.
One interesting Big 12 game, Utah goes to Oklahoma State. And now one might think with Baylor and then Utah State, might Kyle Whittingham been circling this game going like, we're not bringing Cam Rising back until Oklahoma State? Or is this going to be what we've seen in the years past with Utah, which is we have no updates. Cam Rising is more hurt than we thought. And now they go into Stillwater in what is probably a preview. I know Kansas State has some things to say about the Big 12 as well, but probably a preview of the Big 12 championship game. Utah favored by 2 on the road against Oklahoma State. I can't make heads or tails of this game because we don't know if Cam Rising's going to play. Obviously, I wouldn't bet it, but you surprised Utah favored on the road against Oklahoma State?
Nope.
A little surprised there.
I trust Big Whit, man.
All right.
They get it done, except when they play Oregon.
Colorado favored at home against Baylor.
Watch out for Dave Aranda. He could surprise some folks.
Baylor's not very good, though.
They're not, but Deion Shadur feeling himself after Colorado State?
They did nearly
talking a lot of trash.
They nearly blanked Air Force, but that was as a different animal going up against Colorado and Shadur. There we go. There's some early lines in college football. Oh, I'm pumped up for the bye week. We have got hour number 2, which I'm also pumped up about. That's next, 620 Rip City Radio.
7 a.m. on a Monday. Brenden Slaughter with you for Rip City Mornings. Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons top the Philadelphia Eagles 22-21 on Monday Night Football to wrap up the NFL week. Speaking of the NFL, got some news coming out of Carolina as the Panthers are making a change at quarterback, benching number 1 overall pick Bryce Young. Same Bryce Young that won the Heisman a couple years ago. Yeah, that guy. For the veteran Red Rocket, Andy Dalton. Justin and all redheads rejoice. Another injury for the 49ers as star wide receiver Deebo Samuel set to miss a few games with a calf injury. Just add another one to the 49ers injuries. Coming up on the big show, we got Make or Miss in Hour 2, Devon Pouncey in Hour 3. You got Rip City Mornings.
Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you are all having a fantastic Tuesday. If you are new to the program, welcome. If you like what you hear, hey, tell a friend. We really appreciate that about you. If you are a returning customer, thanks for coming back. Obviously, a lot of NFL stuff to talk about on the big show. Monday Night Football last night saw thievery from the Atlanta Falcons as they went into Philadelphia, stole a game from the Eagles, and who knows? When it's all said and done, because, I mean, let's be honest. The Eagles are in a division with the Giants, who Carolina's going to be the worst team in the NFL. The Giants and the Patriots, I think, and who knows, but the Giants are going to be right there with them in terms of trying to get themselves another quarterback in the draft and who are going to be at the top of the draft. So the Giants, the Commanders got to win, but they got a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. They're still going to struggle for a little bit, and who knows what to make of Dallas. So I don't know if this game on a Monday Night Football second week in September is going to ultimately matter in December, but like, these are the things that I talk about as to why these coaches are nuts and why these quarterbacks are nuts. Because if Saquon Barkley catches a pass, the Eagles win the game. Now, that win, who knows what the Eagles season might ultimately bring, but that win or that they now don't have, that might be the difference between a first-round bye or not. That might be the difference in a home game in the second round of the playoffs. That might be the difference between the division and the wild card if Dallas wakes up and starts playing a little better football than giving up 44 points to the New Orleans Saints at home. That one play, that one decision. This is why these coaches are nuts. The other thing that is going to drive coaches nuts, that's going to be young quarterbacks. So we talked about it a lot in the summer because, well, it's what you do in the summer. When you don't really have any evidence, you start kind of throwing some things out there. And we now have three quarterbacks playing in their three rookie quarterbacks playing in the NFL. None have looked particularly good. What Jaden Daniels do against the Giants? No touchdowns, no picks. Looked fairly accurate, threw for 226, but not exactly setting the world on fire in that game. We saw Bo Nix throwing interceptions. We've seen Caleb Williams now throwing interceptions. You can kind of see glimpses there, but clearly you have got those three guys. It's going to be a long season. You factor in a couple of other young quarterbacks in Bryce Young and Will Levis. And you've got some interesting decisions that some of these teams are maybe ultimately going to have to make. So let's do a little stock market game. I'm into games today. I don't know why. Games feel fun. Brenden, you still on the Robinhood? You still in
all the time?
Still on the Robinhood? All right.
As a young person, Justin, I've said this before. It's the only way to be real positive about your financial future is always to be saving for the future.
But the save, is it really saving or is that?
And money into a brokerage account is money I don't spend.
All right.
So
there you go. Boom. All right. So let's go. Are you buying stock? Are you selling stock? Are you holding on to it? Because I would say right now, prices for quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, at an all-time low. Prices are at an all-time low for young quarterbacks. Let's start with the guy we talked about, the former Oregon quarterback. Let's start with Bo Nix. I am not ready to give up on Bo Nix. I don't think the Broncos are going to go to the playoffs this year. That's hot take, Myers. Easy. But
our boss might come after you, Justin.
Yeah, he knows this.
Be careful. We got a super fan Broncos in the building.
This whole thing, this whole season for Bo Nix is about development, right? That's what this whole season is going to be about. And if you watch the games and I've watched both games that Bo Nix played. I watched the game, obviously, he played against the Seahawks. I watched the full game he played against the Steelers. And if you see the picks that he's throwing, this is what happens with young quarterbacks. For his entire life, he has been able to, just off of talent and arm strength, make certain throws. He sees a guy, his feet may not be set. He might not be in the perfect position to throw, but from middle school to high school to college, he's been able to, with just pure arm strength, beat the defender, find an open receiver, make that pass. I've seen, like I said, both games. 2 of those picks, he's thrown off his back foot, right? He threw off his back foot in the interception in the end zone against the Steelers and didn't see the fact that, cornerbacks in the NFL really fast. And they can make up a lot of ground. And if you throw the ball off your back foot and if you don't get the ball out just that fast, that half a second costs you a pick. But this is what you learn. And you have to imagine, he showed in his time at Auburn. Remember Bo Nix at Auburn? Remember when everybody's ready to give up on him at Auburn? When he was just essentially thrown out like the trash, and he came to Oregon and was like, no, I figured some things out. Gain some confidence. If Bo Nix stock is down, Brenden, I'm buying. I think he's going to be just fine. I also think the Steelers and the Seahawks defenses are going to make a lot of quarterbacks look a little bit silly, especially rookies throwing off their back foot.
I have concerns.
All right. Tell me your concerns.
I'm not nearly as optimistic. I think a lot of the, whether or not you believed it or not, and I'm not saying I did, a lot of the concerns about Bo Nix coming into the NFL, you've now seen play out over the first couple weeks. The whole check down Charlie and everything else, I'm pretty sure Bo Nix has had less than 200 total passing yards in 2 games. Maybe it's a little bit more than that, but
he actually, against the Seahawks, see what did he do against the Seahawks? He put up 246. He put up 246 on Sunday against the Steelers. The problem was he threw 2 picks.
Yeah, so it was
better.
better.
And one was in the end zone in an absolute terrible, awful, no good, very bad time.
Yeah, I mean, it was better. Again, I think it's extremely silly to give up, Justin's rule of last year. Justin did not let me say Bryce Young was a bust until we got to year 2.
Year 2. And now he's been benched in week 2 of year 2.
Now Justin can allow me to say, again, and that's a whole nother can of worms because I think the Panthers.
Oh, we're going to get to that in a moment.
But yeah, so, no, I think I have a few more concerns than you do. I don't know if just fine, but it could be a rough year for Bronco Nation.
I have faith in Sean Payton and his ability to evaluate a quarterback.
Sure.
And now maybe that's a bit foolish of me because Sean Payton has had one quarterback, right, his entire career. Really done nothing without Drew Brees. Now,
it's true. Like when he had the year of Jameis.
Yeah, didn't quite work out so well. But I have faith that Sean Payton can evaluate a quarterback, and the fact that Sean Payton, throughout the entire training camp, a guy who doesn't, throw praise. This isn't, Sean Payton's not like a John Gruden where everybody is awesome. He was like, yeah, Bo Nix is
probably also smarter with email.
I don't know that whole Bountygate thing.
That's true. Hey, it's true.
That whole
that's a long
Bountygate
time
thing,
ago now,
we
Jeff.
forget about that
That's old
real
news,
fast.
Baby. That's old news, baby. But no, it's true.
He had a defensive coordinator.
He had a defensive coordinator who was like, "Hey, go hit Brett Favre as hard as you can, and you will get more money
In the head.
And you will get more money in your bank account." Like that is a real thing.
If you knock him out
That is a
of
real
the game,
thing.
you will have more money in your bank account.
Crazy. It's just like when you go, "Wait, that actually happened?" And he was only suspended for a year. Like, yeah. Anywho.
Could you imagine
now?
If let's just say emails got leaked, who would be the equivalent?
Patrick Mahomes.
No, I'm saying who would be the equivalent of Sean Payton then?
Remember, it was that
one Super Bowl win, like pretty good reputation. Like who?
Sean McVay. If Sean McVay's defensive, because remember,
if all of a sudden it came out that Sean McVay had a defensive coordinator and was like, yeah, if we knock out quarterbacks, you get cash in the bag, and we got evidence of it.
If the NFL protected quarterbacks back then like they protect quarterbacks now, Sean Payton might have not been able to coach again, which is just crazy. Because, like, imagine if instead of Brett Favre, it was Tom Brady.
I know. All right.
Anyway, yeah, continue on.
Every once in a while, you throw a laugh in there that I haven't heard before, and it just throws me for a loop. Anyways, all right.
I get my Kawhi. Yeah. I could do them all, man.
That came way too casual.
Justin has the impressions down. I can't do an impression. I do have some good laughs. I'll say.
All right, let's go to Caleb. Let's go to Caleb Williams. We freaking out about Caleb Williams yet?
A little. We might need to talk to.
We're freaking out about Caleb Williams.
Might need to talk to Aaron Fentress soon for a variety of reasons.
I'm in the same spot with Caleb Williams that I am with Bo Nix. Now, Caleb Williams, his entire time in college, whether it was at Oklahoma or at USC, and again, I've said he made throws that I've never seen a college quarterback make. I might be being a hypocrite here, but like that can kind of be to your detriment because you're just so used to making Bo Nix from his freshman and sophomore season was forced, and chuck down Charlie. No, decision making is what he was doing. Open receivers, the offense. Meanwhile, Caleb Williams was winning a Heisman. I get it. Was winning a Heisman, but running around, throwing across because his arm strength is off the charts. It's unbelievable. His physical ability to throw a football is unbelievable. But in the NFL, you can't live that way. We worried about Caleb Williams? I'm standing pat. I'm not selling. 2 weeks, rookie quarterback, all that stuff. But there were some doozies of some interceptions that he was throwing. And Bo Nix threw some doozies as well. I'm not going to sit here and deny it, but he threw a couple of doozies.
Yeah, there's some concerns. Obviously, like you said, I was the same way. Caleb Williams was, pound for pound, one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen with my own eyes. As far as, like, he has that Joe Burrow type moxie, right? As far as like I can make every throw on the field.
Yes.
And if I had a better defense, I might have won a big time bowl game or got to the playoff. That being said, the Bears have been injured, Justin. This last game, I know Rome Odun's played, but he's been banged up. Keenan Allen's been banged up.
Keenan Allen didn't play against Houston.
Yeah. DJ Moore's obviously been there, but like the pieces have moved in and out. They're 1-1. I would assume,
but in the one win, they beat Tennessee, and he threw for 93 yards.
Yeah, Will Levis really bad.
Will Levis is really bad.
Might have to get to him in a minute, too.
But Will Levis is really bad.
I don't know, Justin, but Will Levis might need to go back to putting mayo in coffee, man.
I think he's still doing it. He has like a mayonnaise commercial.
He does. Oh, yes, and I'm sure you saw the video of him.
To me, I think the bigger worry would be, especially in that first game, I've said it with Caleb, it's completion percentage. He was under 50%.
Yes,
Same with Bo Nix, by the way. The completion percentage is, picks are going to happen, but it's the completion percentage. Boy, it is, welcome to the NFL, boys. Welcome to the NFL. We didn't even get to Jaden Daniels.
We'll have to get there.
He's all right. He's doing, he looked okay, but he might be the best of all of them, but just by default because he's not throwing picks. All right, we have got Make or Miss. That's next, 620, Rip City Radio. All right. Coming up in the third hour, our good buddy Devon Pouncey is going to be joining the program. Get his thoughts on some NFL topics. Dame back in Portland receiving the Bill Walton Award. So we'll get his thoughts on some interesting sentiment from Damian Lillard and coming back to Portland for an award. So we'll talk to Pounce coming up in the third hour. You will all be getting off my lawn coming up in approximately 25 minutes. But right now, it's time to dive into Make or Miss. Here we go.
All right, firing up Make or Miss on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Mike McDonald's got something brewing in Seattle, and it ain't coffee.
Man, they might be good.
What I'm saying.
They might be good. All right, let's talk NFC West real quick, because this division in 2 weeks is fascinating. Seahawks are 2-0. I think their defense is good. I still am not completely sold that Geno Smith is going to be a guy that can get you a win in the postseason. I'm not even really a hater because I like Geno Smith. I root for Geno Smith. You know, he got done dirty by the Jets and kind of got, a second chance of a career, which you very rarely get. I was very surprised that this go-around in the offseason with a new head coach that they didn't look to replace Geno Smith. Maybe they just didn't find the guy. And the Falcons really kind of screwed up everything with giving Kirk Cousins $100 million guaranteed. And the Seahawks were like, well, we're not going to do that. And we're not going to draft. So we're just going to go with Geno. The Arizona Cardinals looked very good on Sunday. They looked very good on Sunday. Now, to contrast, they didn't look very good the week before. And the Bills are going to make some teams look that way. But Kyler Murray went for $160 in the opening game. But against the Rams, 41 points. What'd he drop on them? 266, 3 touchdowns. And then you've got the 49ers, who clearly are the class of the division, but they got 2 very important pieces hurt. And then you've got the Rams. And we were going to do a segment. We might save this segment for tomorrow, but are they bad? Are the Rams bad?
I think injuries.
Are they bad?
Injuries, right? I don't think they would have been. But you take away Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, who are 2 of the top receivers in the NFC. I mean, again, not Justin Jefferson, but Cooper Kupp is a Super Bowl MVP.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's getting a little older, but, he is the pride of Yakima, and I will defend Cooper Kupp until my last dying breath.
No, Cooper Kupp is a great story. He's a great
Cooper
Pacific Northwest story,
And,
but he's getting to that part of his career where injuries are going to start piling and piling and piling, and that's just what happens at some point.
Speaking of which, Justin, here's some positive momentum happening for Eastern Washington. Sounds like the Mountain.
They're going to be in the Pac-12?
No, sounds like the Mountain.
They're not going to get an invite to the Pac-12. You got a blue field.
I know,
maybe
right?
get a red field.
That'd be cool. It does sound though like the Mountain West is going to be taking up some of those big sky teams. Sounds like Montana State could be in the mix. The Dakotas could. Apparently, they're weighing. They're weighing getting out of FCS and jumping up. And I'm like, I'd love to see Eastern Washington D1. That'd be sweet.
Okay, let me close this out real quick.
Sorry. Yes.
No, the Seahawks I think are pretty good.
Yes.
I don't know if they're. I don't know. I don't think they're capable of winning the Super Bowl. I don't know if they're capable of winning a playoff game. They are clearly capable of making the playoffs. The Seahawks are pretty good. That's where I see them. And I like Mike McDonald as a coaching hire. You're going to build with defense. That's going to help. Now, let's go back to college real quick. So, the Pac-12 is going to be the old Mountain West, but with 2 schools from the old Pac-12, and the Mountain West is going to be the Big Sky with a couple of old Mountain West. Like, who's going to be hanging around? Air Force, they said, is going to the American.
Yes, because the Pentagon's cool with that. So, yeah.
Well, it makes sense because Army and Navy
Exactly.
are both
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and so you get all of them in conference. It should be that way anyways. Like all three of those teams should be in the same
But
conference.
I think it'd be very cool to see Montana, Montana State, Eastern Washington, maybe North Dakota if or North Dakota State doesn't want to and they want to continue dominance. But if you're like North Dakota State, Justin, that is the conversation you're having with your athletic director and your fan base. Like, we've got a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
We win championships, but.
Okay.
Do you even consider jumping up a level, especially the fact that you got to take a 1-year bowl ban or something?
2 years, 2 year.
Yeah,
it's a 2 year. And by the way, I think if you get almost half of the Big Sky to come to what is the new Mountain West,
right?
Which is the Mountain West only chance of survival.
Agreed. They have no other choice. Yeah.
If you get that, I'll bet you the NCAA is going to start going like, we might change this up because. You are going to see teams. I don't know this for a fact. I just know it. You are going to see teams like, all right, let's talk about Florida State. Let's do it.
Mike Norvell doubling down this week. DJU is our guy.
DJU is their guy. Let's talk about Florida State. Florida State is currently 0-3. All right. They have 3 pretty bad losses. Georgia Tech and Dublin. Didn't even compete against Boston College, and Memphis put it on them. I don't know if they beat Cal this weekend. I don't know if they beat Cal. Are they favored against Cal? What do they got? They're favored against Cal. But let's say Florida State beats Cal, beats SMU, loses to Clemson. Maybe they win at Duke. They got Charleston Southern. They got Florida. You find a way to either beat Miami or North Carolina, and you go 6-6. Brenden, the Florida State Seminoles are not going to the Meineke Car Care Bowl. They're not going.
Could they go to the LA Bowl against Oregon State?
No, what I'm saying is if they go 6-6,
yeah,
they're not going to a bowl game. Why would you? Why would you go to a bowl game? All those players are going to transfer out. They want to go out and recruit. It's a waste of their time to go to a bowl game. So what I think is ultimately going to happen with the 12-team playoff, you are going to see teams that had aspirations of making the playoff and have fallen to 6-6. Their roster is depleted with transfers. The coaches want to get out and start recruiting in the portal, and you're going to see teams start declining bowl games, especially with the amount of TV money that you're already making. You don't really need that, as crazy as it sounds, that $12 million bowl check to a lower tier bowl. So the NCAA and bowls in general, if they want to keep them alive, the NCAA is going to have a problem on their hands, which is we're going to have bowls and nobody to play in them. So you are going, if the group of 5 start scattering and start trying to pull in teams from anywhere they can, that 2-year probation period, that's going to get waived. It's going to get waived because the Music City Bowl needs somebody to play in it. You know what I mean? Because teams like Florida State, who else is pretty disappointing right now? NC State, that's a good one. They're kind of disappointing right now.
A sneaky team that you liked, yeah.
I guess they're 2-1. They lost to Tennessee, but like they lost 51-10 to Tennessee. But if NC State, they lose to Clemson, they lose at Cal, they go 7. If you're NC State, do you want to even go to a bowl game? Or do you want to go and start recruiting and start hammering the portal so that you have a chance to maybe make the playoffs the next year? So now here's the other question, make or miss. If you are the Big Sky Conference and you are, like you said, Eastern Washington, Montana, Montana State, who else is in there? Are the Dakotas in there? I don't think so. Dakota's not in there. But if you're the Big Sky, you got Montana, Montana State, maybe Idaho.
Yeah, Idaho for sure.
Maybe Eastern Washington. What would you rather do? What would you rather do? Would you rather
Oh, why don't we
Go play in a newly built Mountain West. Probably make more money, but your best postseason hope is to win 9 games, 10 games, and go to the Music City Bowl, because you have one shot of making the playoff, and that's very, very unlikely of a new rebuilt Mountain West. Or would you rather keep the Big Sky alive and try to win a national championship? You make less money, but you can actually have a chance at a postseason.
I think now we're going to have to, it's crazy for people to think, Justin, but Idaho at one point was on the same level as Oregon State before they got left behind in the 60s. So I just wonder, very much like, again, this is optimistic thinking, but I'm living in an optimistic world for the future of this West Coast football. Justin, when the Pac-12 brought in Utah, it was, oh, yeah, remember that team with Alex Smith and Urban Meyer, and they were kind of good, BCS busters. Mm-hmm. They came in the Pac-12. Kyle Whittingham's first 2 years of the Pac-12 have been his worst.
Yes.
Period. Because they realized, okay, we need to invest in football. We are no longer just the disruptors. We have to compete. And it took them a long time. They got smacked around by Oregon and others in the championship, could never reach the Pac-12 championship, finally got over the hump. I just wonder what would happen if you invest, personally, Justin, I think Boise is F-16 about ready to take off on a runway. Boise's already a brand, and now that they're going to get even more money, I mentioned Idaho's population blowing up in a good way, and I think there's going to be a lot more Bronco fans, a lot of money going over to Idaho.
Here's what I'm wondering though. So Boise has a legitimate shot, whether it's in the Mountain West right now or in a newly rebuilt Pac-12. A legitimate shot year in and year out to make the playoff. They do. They could be the Gonzaga of college football, where you win your if Boise State runs the table this year, they're going to the playoff. A 3-point loss at Oregon, and then you beat Washington State, you beat the Beavs, you win the Mountain West, they're going to the playoff. In my personal opinion. But what I'm saying is, if you are Montana, shout out Tyson Alger, Bill Orem. If you're Montana, do you want to go to the newly rebuilt Mountain West? And even if you win it, you don't get to go to the playoff, because whoever wins the newly rebuilt Pac-12 is going to take that spot, or the newly rebuilt American. Do you know what I mean? You're going to have such an uphill battle to be the highest ranked group of 5. So would you rather go to your FCS playoffs every single year? Or would you rather every 3 or 4 years go to the Poinsettia Bowl?
I think you're going to have more schools follow that Jason Eck approach, and that leads to wanting to play in the best conference and get out of FCS.
Get some actual money and get some recruiting.
Right, and I think the FCS might fade away. I mean, you're going to have, there's going to be differences, no disrespect. I don't think we're going to see ripple effects down to
all the way down to NAI?
Well, Linfield,
Division
right?
3?
Linfield,
Western Oregon Wolves?
George Fox. Was actually kind of cool. I actually didn't know this recently, that there was a receiver for George Fox who went and played for Oklahoma State last year. Very random, but I don't know if you're going to see ripple effects quite that far. But I do think very much like we talked about the Nick Saban ripple effects. The Pac-12 just blew up the Mountain West after it got blown up. But I
and the
think
Mountain West is about to blow up the Big Sky.
I think no one would be harmed by the Big Sky imploding if all those teams found a home. I really don't. I think you would.
Well, what happens to Portland State?
I think Portland State should be included in this conversation as well, Justin. I think they should absorb the entire Big Sky.
They don't play in a stadium. I mean, they play out in Hillsboro. I root for Portland State.
I think, again, Justin, the investment.
I don't think you can play FBS football.
So here's the thing. Portland State has
that level.
Portland State would have a decision to make. We invest in our program and try to get to the Mountain West, or we become Division III and we're on Linfield's level. Which I think is a very fair.
I think that's a little bit extreme.
I think so?
Yeah, I think you are going to see a lot of schools say, you know what, we don't want to get into this game. We want to stay in FCS, win our conference, go to a 32-team playoff, and try to win a national championship. Because if you keep trying to play the game, you could end up being a 5-win Mountain West team and never do anything for a good 10 years. Never do anything.
Long-term for
now, you
your
might make some more
program that might be better.
You might make some more TV money.
Just like Utah, right? That's why I said, like, Utah, when they came in the conference, was like, they were a Boise State. And now we look at them as a Big 12 power.
Okay. Louisville joined the ACC.
Okay.
They've done nothing. They were good for a minute with Lamar Jackson. He was really good.
Bobby
Other than
Petrino.
that, but Louisville, they got caught up in a mix.
Good
And
coaching matters, as does investment in your football program.
Maybe don't hire Bobby Petrino.
Well, I mean, I think Justin.
Didn't they hire him post scandal? Didn't they hire Petrino
Louisville's
post scandal?
Yeah, I mean, then they had all their basketball scandal with Rick Pitino. Louisville's had a tough 10 years as an athletic department.
I'm just saying we remember the Utah success story. I'm trying to think of.
I'm not saying. Okay, so you might have got me, Justin. Portland State is a fair example that I do not have a great answer to. But those other teams that I mentioned, tremendous.
To me, in the Big Sky, and I say this with obviously a little bit of ignorance, I like these schools, but I don't pay a lot of attention to the Big Sky. But just Montana,
you did know Eastern Washington,
Montana State, Idaho, Eastern Washington. Those are probably the only four.
North Dakota State?
I don't think they're in the Big Sky. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm not seeing them.
The Missouri. Let's see if there's anybody in the Missouri Valley who'd.
But
like
I'm just thinking of the Big Sky. Those are the only four that if I'm the Mountain West, I would even want.
You wouldn't want North Dakota, South Dakota State if they offered?
Yeah, but they're not in the Big Sky.
No, I'm just out in.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
sure,
what
sure.
I'm saying is
Sure.
that's four schools leaving the Big Sky. That's going to still leave, what, 8? The Big Sky is going to continue on. I don't know if you call it the Big Sky if there's no Montana schools in there.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it like Northern Arizona, probably. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to limit anybody. Now, I'll say this: Portland State, like Justin said, real tough. Stadium situation's hard. We just saw Oregon State expand with the 4 teams in the Mountain West who had a decent stadium, right? So a stadium matters.
Well, this is something that I definitely want to ask. We're going to talk to Tyson tomorrow.
It's a great question.
What would you rather What would you rather be if you're the Montana Grizzlies? You have a legitimate shot to win the national title every single year at the FCS level. Legitimate. You go to the newly built Mountain West and you go into the FBS. You have no chance of ever winning a national title, ever. And you have an even smaller chance of making the playoff because you're going to be in one of the lowest group of 5 conferences because the Pac-12 just took all the good teams out of the Mountain West. So your best chance is to go 10-2, lose 2 paycheck games, and, like I said, maybe go to the Poinsettia Bowl. Is that what you want to have?
I just think that like a school like specifically
because the big boys aren't going to let the smaller schools play ball.
No, I think they'd be fine though. Like you're telling me Eastern Washington wouldn't kill to go to the LA Bowl with Gronk? They would love that notoriety.
I guess. Would you rather do that than play for a national title?
Well, I'm already making my plans because I think that's where the Beavs are going to be going.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm like, don't rain on my parade over
here. There you go. Fantastic make or miss. Coming up next, you will all get off my lawn. 620 Rip City Radio. Okay. Let's wrap up hour number 2. And if you, again, are new to the program, that's what we do on Tuesdays. I learned once that Tuesday is the grumpiest day of the week. You might be thinking, Justin, Monday is. Nobody ever says, hey, you got a case of the Tuesdays. You have a case of the Mondays. But science has proven, and if there's anything we are on this program, we are pro-science. Figure it out, scientists. Figure out, how do we get a yellow line on the football field? How have we not figured that out by now? And this is not my get off my lawn segment. I'm just saying this is what I do. We're pro-science, but we like to encourage the science nerds to figure some things out. How come we can have a football yellow line while we watch it on TV? We got to be able to get one in real life. So science has proven that Mondays, mentally, we prepare for it. We're mentally prepared for Mondays. We go into it going it's going to be a slog, but you know what? Just get right through it. And once you get on the other side, you're already through Monday. And then Wednesday, well, Camel once told us in a commercial, that is hump day. And then, of course, Thursday, Friday, we were rolling into the weekend. That leaves Tuesday. And Tuesday, while it is not hump day yet, it is still tough to get through, but you're not mentally prepared for it, and so we all get a little bit grumpy on Tuesdays. We all get a little bit short. We have far less patience maybe on a Tuesday. So instead of pushing that negativity down, we let it out. We let it out. As I recently had a birthday. I am 45. I am now officially a grumpy old man. A birthday gift that I received is my coffee mug here that says I am a grumpy old man. So that leaves us to this segment, which I've done a lot of time explaining of what it is. But we call it Get Off My Lawn. Here we go. All right, grocery stores can get right off my lawn. I have probably said this before, but I shall say it again. How come grocery stores and Costco, also looking at you, my friends, how come we have not figured out a more efficient way of checking out of grocery stores? Why? And I know the answer. It's because you're all trying to scam us. You want us corralled in those little lanes, so we're sitting there and looking at the Us Weekly and taking a look going do I want some Smokehouse Almonds? Do I want some Reese's Peanut Butter Cups? Do I need a jerky stick? I know what you're doing. Do I want to grab a Coke Zero right now? I know what you're doing, but you know what? Doesn't mean that it's right. How is it that we have had banks forever and ever and ever have had what? One single line. Multiple tellers, but one single line. Delis. You go into a good deli, you pull a number, they call it, now serving 47. Hey, that's me. Why is it the grocery store line we have to pick a line and pick a lane and commit to that lane? Because there's nothing worse than when you go and it's 4 different lanes open up and you're like, all right, because nobody likes grocery shopping. Nobody likes it.
I think there's some who do, Justin.
Okay, well, I don't want to know. That's some psychopath traits.
There are some who
if it's the highlight of your week is we're going to the grocery store, you've got some problems. I'm just going to say that. But neither here nor there. Not here to judge other people.
I got some family members might be taking offense to your sayings.
I apologize to any of Brendan's family members. I'm just saying, how could you enjoy the grocery shopping process? It's a whole web of maze, or a whole maze of temptations designed to scam you and get you out of your money. Neither here nor there. What I'm saying is, when you go to the grocery store and you go to check out and you're done. You're finished. Your list has been completed, and maybe you're even a little bit excited about going home and making dinner with the food that you found. Maybe you found something exciting and new that you're like, we're going to try something today. Maybe some pork carnitas. I don't know. We're going to get a little adventurous. And then you get to that line. And now you have to decide. Do you go with the line with the least amount of people in it? Oh, but there's a cart that's full of stuff. Oh, but that cart, there's 2 carts there. But they look like, you know what they look like? They look like talkers. And you know what I'm talking about. Somebody that wants to sit there in the grocery line at the checkout stand and sit there and chit-chat with the checker. And some of you might be saying, Justin, Just go to the self-checkout. Yeah, I thought of that. I go to the grocery store once a week, buy a lot of stuff. I'm not going to clog up the self-checkout with my 30 to 40 items of stuff because I go to the grocery store once a week. Yes, if I go in to buy 3 or 4 things, your boy's going right to self-checkout. Right to self-checkout. That's a whole nother Tuesday rant coming up. The people that can't figure out self-checkout. You should have to pass a test or maybe not. Maybe I'll give you the benefit of the doubt in the self-checkout, but if you can't figure it out through 2 times through, you go back. You go back to the line where you can't be trusted. I hated nearly everything about COVID. I really, really did not like anything about COVID. But there was one thing that was the best. And that was when you went to the grocery store. And by the way, tip of the cap to the grocery store workers. They were there the same time as all the other first responders. We didn't bang pans at 7 o'clock for the grocery store workers. But when you would go to the grocery store during COVID times, it was, guess what? One single line. And that line may have seemed imposing at first, but you know what? I don't know if it ever went faster. Because you didn't have to get hung up on a cart behind a talker, behind somebody who had to pay with three different ways, with someone or someone that didn't know how to write down the bulk numbers. You ever had that happen?
You don't have appreciation when people gotta pay a couple different ways, Justin. You never know. Someone may have
somebody's going
day,
through some stuff. You're right. I probably should be.
The bulk thing I get, but I've been behind people. I'm like, hey man, they're just trying to buy their groceries.
You're right. They're just that's true.
I'm like, come on now. I feel that though. I do.
I was on a roll there.
I know. But no, it was solid though. Self-checkout though is bad. I 100% agree.
You know what? I've been there too. Dude, can I tell you? So that being said, let's just get one line, like when you go to the TJ Maxx, right? And you're standing.
People still go to TJ Maxx?
Dude, TJ Maxx?
It's still in?
If you want to get like luggage, dude, you go to the TJ Maxx.
Oh, I'm a Ross guy myself.
Either or. Well, you go to the Ross, same thing, right? One single line, and then what's like, or you go to Nordstrom Rack. You're like, now.
The Rack, baby.
Oh, cashier 14, open, and then you go there. You don't have to find one line.
I think I got the shirt I'm wearing at the Rack.
Look at you. Now,
the Rack's solid,
I feel bad for lumping in people who have to pay with multiple cards. So I shall now embarrass myself. There was a time when I was in college. Not really college. I passed off as being in college, but there was a time, early years in radio, I was very, very poor. And you know how like, you know the exact amount of money in your checking account to the nickel. And I went to Costco and I was like, all right, I get paid in like a week, but I need food. Like, and I had it down to within 15 cents.
No way.
Well, here's the problem. Had to renew my Costco card.
Oh, no.
They go like, oh, well, you need to renew your Costco card. We can just do that right now.
Let's take something off the checkout.
And I'm like, and then I went
like, toilet paper gotta go.
No, I went to use the card thinking maybe it'll just go through. Maybe I'll just deal with an overdraft. Just declined. And they go, there's an ATM right over there, knowing full well that I'm leaving.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to that ATM. I'll grab some cash. I'll be right back. And then I left.
So you know, Justin,
so
what it's like to be...
feel like, so there you go. I've thrown myself now onto the fire.
Yeah, that's vulnerable, man. That's real.
Right on to
That's
the fire.
real, man. Respect.
All right. Coming up, hour number 3. Devon Pouncey is going to join us live in studio. We'll talk some NFL. Dame back in town for an award and whatever else we get into. Hour 3 next, 620 Rip City Radio.
8 a.m. on a Monday, Brendan Slaughter with you for Rip City Mornings. Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons top the Philadelphia Eagles 22-21 on Monday Night Football to close out the NFL week. Speaking of the NFL, Carolina making a change at quarterback? Already, you ask? Yep. Benching number 1 overall pick last year, not this year, Bryce Young, for the veteran Red Rocket Andy Dalton. Justin rejoices. Another injury for the 49ers, a star wide receiver Deebo Samuel set to miss a few weeks, with a calf injury. The 49ers continue to deal with the injury bug. Coming up here in just a few minutes, we got Devon Pouncey in studio for the whole third hour. Special Ebony and Ivory mailbag to close out. You got Rip City Mornings.
Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you are all having a fantastic Tuesday. We're having a good time. Obviously, a lot of NFL talk on the big show. Monday Night Football last night, down to the wire. You know what my favorite topics is in all of sports media, which next month I will be counting 20 years. It's nuts. I can't believe I've kicked the can down the road this long. But next month, my first show started 2004 October in Eugene in a little broom closet. And I'll be 20 years in this business. And yet I'm sure I probably said the same thing in year 1 as I'm saying in year 20. Did the Falcons win it or did the Eagles lose it? Because while Saquon Barkley and the decision for the Eagles to throw the ball on third down when the Falcons had no timeouts and there was 1:41 remaining, and even though it was a perfect play call and it was a perfect pass, and Saquon just butterfingered it, you put that into play and you gave the Atlanta Falcons 40 extra seconds after you kicked the field goal. But to their credit, a team in Kirk Cousins who looked abysmal week 1, Steelers are going to do that to you, but he looked abysmal in week 1, then coming out and marching right down the field to score the game-winning touchdown. And the other thing we didn't talk about, I know the officiating was bad in college football over the weekend, and we did a whole thing yesterday about college football going on and not having consistent messaging, not having what seems to be a consistent understanding of what targeting is and so on and so forth. And in the NFL, I have always said 90-some% of the time, like 90-some%, these guys get the call right. It's amazing to me. It is amazing to me how the NFL refs can see catches on the sideline. It is amazing to me how NFL refs can get the spot mostly correct. Because I'll be watching a game, now obviously TV angles and everything else a little bit different, but you're watching a game, you're like, that's a touchdown. And they mark him down at the one, like, what are you doing? And then you look at the replay, like, I'll be darned. He was down at the, but Falcons score what was at the time the game tying score, extra point pending, and they've obviously moved the extra point back 5-6 years ago. And I don't know if it's a point of emphasis in the NFL. I don't know if it's something with this particular celebration, but NFL ref in that particular throws a celebration penalty. Wasn't taunting the other team. Did go fake machine gun to the crowd. Now, maybe that's where they draw the line. I guess I can understand that. But in a spot where an extra point was maybe as big as any extra point was all week long, you throw a celebration penalty? It's like, come on. Is it? Devon Pouncey is now joining us here in
That's
Studio
right.
Pounce. What's up? This is a game played by men who are emotional. And scoring touchdowns is really hard.
Yes, they are.
We throw a flag there for it.
You risk your life for touchdowns every Sunday. Any
Every
given Sunday, lives are being risked to score touchdowns.
Limb, career,
Yeah.
everything on the line. You score.
Let them celebrate.
Throw a
I'm with
flag
it.
in that spot. What are we doing?
Yeah, I don't like it. Let them celebrate every time. Let them celebrate. Let them taunt a little bit. It's like you said, they're risking it all. They are risking it for the biscuit, as some would say, to be able to just get in that end zone, man.
Well, it's interesting. Most of the time, I think NFL officials understand the fact that there is a lot of money at stake.
Yeah.
That this is a massively emotional game.
For sure.
The emotional levels, I don't even think most people can comprehend. I can't, of where you have to go to emotionally just to get through an NFL game.
For sure.
Of where it is. And I think most of the time these NFL officials get it. Now, maybe this guy's hands were tied. Maybe there was because I forget the guy's name. Brenden, who scored that game-tying touchdown?
Drake London.
Drake London. He goes fake machine gun to the crowd. Now, I don't know if maybe the NFL said no hip thrusts and no machine guns.
Silence the violence.
Not a great look in today's climate, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Especially this week.
Yeah.
Not the great look. Not a great look with recent.
I hear you.
That being said, touchdowns are really hard to do. It's a game-tying touchdown.
Yeah, for sure.
Motions happen.
Well,
I don't know if that's the time to throw a flag.
Well, I mean, I also think about so comparing it to basketball, it's a shooter's league now, right? Everybody shoots threes, and you get a lot of kind of gun motions, you know, after three-pointers get made in the NBA. So I don't think it's as big of a deal if, that happens in the NFL, especially on a game-time touchdown and to ultimately go for the win. But, yeah, in the NBA, we see that, all the time now because shooters shoot for what it's worth. So I don't know. It's not that big of a deal to me, but I can understand, some of the social awareness or lack thereof for folks about that, considering today's climate when it comes to guns, quite frankly.
And I understand that. I have my thoughts on the subject. I'm going to keep that to myself because we're talking football here.
Fair.
But I'm watching it, and I'm just like, this is what happens.
Yeah.
Half the stuff these guys do, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
There's some dance that's supposed to be popular. I don't know what they're
Some
doing.
TikTok dances.
Yeah, and I understand that the
Tyreek put the cuffs on.
That was pretty awesome.
That was pretty fire.
That one was amazing.
That was dope.
I will say, I was surprised, and I'm glad it wasn't. I thought that was getting flagged for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I wonder if he got a letter from the NFL. We haven't noticed it. Usually we get notified if they get fined.
Yeah.
So he must not have, but
well, it would have been pretty bad for the NFL and the Dolphins to put out all the statements they did and find him simultaneously. That would have been a bad look.
That would have been a tough one.
It would have been a tough one. But it would have been a tough pill to swallow.
As I saw, I'm like, is he going to get a flag? Nope. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but turns out it was neither here nor there because the Falcons kicker just nails.
Yes, he did.
45-yard. It's funny you mentioned the NBA.
Younghoe Koo's a dude, man.
Dude, well, here's what I want to talk about. All these kickers are dudes in the NFL. I was thinking about this last night because same thing in the NBA. You give anywhere over a second with a timeout and a 2 or 3 point game. It's like, these guys are going to make that shot.
Yeah.
The guys are going to make the shot. And it's like, I'm watching, and Atlanta gets the lead, and they think there was 30-some seconds left, and Philly had a pretty good and I'm like, if they get this ball to the 40, almost every team in the NFL has got a kicker that's capable of making a 50-some yarder.
For sure.
It's amazing. Just like every team in the NBA has got three or four dudes that they can put on that are going to be 35% or more from three. It's anytime you leave any time on the NBA, that guy's going to make that shot. And which is why that interception that Jalen Hurts threw at the end of the game was really so costly because, dude, all you had to do was get to the 40.
Yeah.
And you've got a chance because every team in the NFL has got 50-some plus yard kickers. It's amazing.
You don't have to throw the ball into traffic. I'm speaking to the NBA of course, right now, as we go back and forth with it, but you don't have to throw the ball into traffic just to try to get a higher percentage shot and potentially score amongst 7 or 8 people in there that are trying to defend the goal. Now, the spacing is so drastic in comparison to what it was in the past because you have so many guys that can shoot. you could just throw the ball into an open area and a guy can pull from whatever area you throw the ball to. And I do think it is a game changer because you're not trying to lob it up and have somebody just tip the ball up and in and hope to get lucky, almost like you would on a Hail Mary, in football. Like you said, now you get to the 40-yard line, I got a kicker who can nail it from 50 yards now.
Yeah.
And so I don't need to try to get the ball into the red zone, if you will. I just need to get, into the kicking zone. And the kicking zone seems to go further and further back as the years progress.
Further and further back.
For sure.
They just it's gotten to the point now where anything even over 50 yards, you're almost shocked if they miss it anymore. I think I saw something of kicks over 50 yards. I think there NFL kickers this year are I think they're 35 of 38. I could be making those numbers up. But just something like it's insane.
That's efficient. That's very efficient.
All right. Real quick, because coming up next, I do want to get your thoughts on Dame back in town. Dame got himself an award. Also, maybe some more news about WNBA hinting on social media today. But before we get into that, are your Raiders back?
Hey, man, Super Bowl coming, baby. Super Bowl coming.
Raiders back?
How about that?
They go
Last week I was on my podcast saying how trash we were going to be again. And this week, my Super Bowl aspirations are right back into play after a nice road win, man. Beating Lamar, beating the Ravens on the road, I'll take it.
First off, I love that. I love it when the Ravens lose. It makes me just smile on the inside. It just makes me that nice, warm feeling on the inside when the Ravens lose. And when the Bengals lose the same week, man, it's just really fun to watch football these first 2 weeks. But, I love Gardner Minshew. I really do.
Okay.
I always, because to me,
I love him because he dons a Raider uniform, but I won't go off the ledge and say I love him as a quarterback just yet.
Respectable.
Not as I love the Gardner Minshew story. The idea that when he was at East Carolina and it was he was going to be the fifth-year senior and he wanted to transfer to Alabama to be their fourth-string quarterback because he wanted to coach. And tragically, in Pullman, Washington, the quarterback of Washington State took his own life.
Yeah.
And they needed a guy. And Mike Leach, who now sadly isn't with us anymore either, calls up Gardner Minshew and says, hey, you want to lead the nation in rushing or in passing? Minshew doesn't go to Alabama, goes to Washington State. They win 10 games. Lose to the Huskies, but they win 10 games. Brings up a town, because Pullman is a very small town.
For sure.
Brings up a town that's hurting, gives them something to celebrate about, especially quarterback. And now Ho-Hum's got a 7-year NFL career.
Yes, yeah.
From a guy who was I was ready to grind it out and just be low-level staffer on a college football team to be I'm still a quarter. I love the story. That's why I root for him.
No, for sure. I root for him because he's a Raider, but I also hear you on that when he does have a great story. And just keep throwing the ball in the area, Gardner Minshew. Let Devontae Adams take care of the rest, my man. You don't have to even hit the numbers. Just don't just throw it where the defense can't get to it, and let Devontae take care of the rest. That's all I ask.
It is amazing when you look at Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams. I think DeAndre Hopkins is one of those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Where you're just I don't care if he's covered. He's open.
Throw it in the area.
Throw it somewhere.
Throw it somewhere in the area that the defender can't get to it, and let Devontae or Justin or one of those guys take care of the rest. That's what you got to do with guys like that.
And the smart quarterbacks really, he's covered. Don't care.
Don't care.
Now figure it out. All right. Yep. A whole lot more stuff to talk about. Devon Pouncey sticks with us through the entire hour. It is Tuesday. It is Rip City Mornings. We are back after this 620 Rip City Radio. All right, our good friend Devon Pouncey from the Wake Up and Win podcast. He's also the basketball analyst for the Rip City Remix and back on the broadcast for the Pacific Boxers.
That's right.
This weekend.
Yeah.
Big win.
Big win. Big win. Big win in the Oregon Cup. It was an Oregon Cup game.
There we go.
You know a little bit about the Oregon Cup?
I do not.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of a pretty out there thing. But basically, and I'm going to try to get it in and out of this quick, because of COVID, and it was hard for a lot of Division III football teams to travel during COVID, 4 of the 5 Oregon schools that are in the Northwest Conference decided to create the Oregon Cup, which is basically a cumulative record over the course of 3 seasons. Those 4 teams are the Pacific University Boxers, Lewis and Clark Pioneers, George Fox Bruins, and the Willamette Bearcats. Of course, Linfield opted out because they're just too good for that to be in all of that.
Snooty Linfield.
Exactly. I agree with you.
Where are
Snooty
the Western
Linfield.
Oregon Wolves?
Well, they're not Division III.
Where are the Western Oregon Wolves?
I mean, hey,
we're
man.
running scared? Running scared of the Wolves?
I don't know, man. It's just those 4 teams, though.
I love it.
But basically, they play each other twice a year now over the course of each of those teams play each other twice a year. Once in week 2, that counts towards a cumulative Oregon Cup record. And then once, obviously, in like November, that counts towards their actual conference record. And both games count towards their overall records. And over those 3 years, the top 2 teams will play in 2026 for what will be called the Oregon Cup championship game. And the bottom 2 teams will play in like a consolation game. And so it's a way for them to kind of spice things up a little bit.
Build it to 2026 for the Oregon Cup.
Build it to 2026. So some of the guys that played in Oregon Cup games last year and graduated, they'll be they'll be in their careers and married and dads and all the things, and they'll just be cheering on, hopefully, their team that ended up making it to the Oregon Cup, going into the year 2026. So there you have it. Game 0 on coin 6. How about that?
All right. I never knew about the Oregon Cup. I love it now. Now I'm all in.
For sure.
I'm not completely all in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm all in. If
you'd have let Western Oregon in there,
yes,
we might have run away with it.
I'd like to know why Linfield opted out.
I want to know the real reason. Again, I would imagine because they don't lose ever, and so
it's kind
of like unfair maybe for them, or they just think they're a little bit too big time to be playing for the Oregon Cup when they're trying to like compete for national championships year in, year out. But hey, to each their own.
All right, so some interesting news since we've last talked, and I don't want to too much read between the lines here, but Damian Lillard was back in town.
Yes.
The Maurice Lucas Foundation honored him with the Bill Walton Community Service Award. And not a surprise, because even though Dame plays in Milwaukee, obviously he still has a lot of work that he has done in the community here.
Yes.
Still has businesses here. Still has a ton of family here. Still has obviously a lot going on. But I thought it was interesting, watch back some of the speeches and everything else. And I was always skeptical of he's going to go off, he's going to give it his shot at Milwaukee, and then maybe come back and finish his career in Portland. I know that because a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
But then circumstance, and I was always skeptical. And then I saw on Friday, I was like, I think it might happen.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it,
yeah.
I think it might. Now, again, what's going to be interesting is, when is this timeline? Where will the Blazers be on this particular timeline? Where is his career going to be on this particular timeline? But I was a skeptic. I was like, no, Dame's going to go off. He's going to – and people use this term like a negative. I disagree, especially in Dame's situation. He's going to go off. He's going to ring chase.
Yeah.
And I know ring chasing is kind of a derogatory term. I don't really think it should be. You play your career.
Yeah.
You earn the right to be able to play for wherever you want. You've put in your time. You're a veteran. If you are available, teams want you. I'd ring chase
for sure
if I could.
You play to win, period.
And so I figured Dame was going to be out, and if it doesn't happen in Milwaukee, he might change teams 3 or 4 times. Who knows?
Yeah.
And just try to find that one situation and try to win that one championship. And I don't blame him or anybody else that does that. And so I was like, he might come back to Portland.
Yeah, I think I don't want
to get my hopes too high, because the Blazers are obviously on a very different path
for
now.
sure.
And the timeline isn't. But seeing him come back is like, and when he talked about how real appreciative when people say you missed me, I was like, yeah, we still like you, dude.
Yeah.
Except Brenden. I think Brendan's still mad, but that's okay.
Nah, I'm okay.
You're back. You're over it now.
Yeah, no, I have to keep my anger towards Jonathan Smith. So that is where that
Really
goes.
bad.
Why were you mad
No,
at
Dame's
Dame?
cool. Dame's cool. I still like his music. I heard some stuff come on my shelf. I'm like, God, it still hits.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. He's
I
gotten
mean, it
better
still
over
hits,
time.
man. Like,
He's
I
gotten better
Run
over
It
time
Up.
too.
I'm like, darn, that's a good song.
Yeah, Run It Up is a good song. Yeah. That's the one with Lil Wayne, right?
Yeah.
That's
And
a
I was
good
like,
one.
okay, this is solid. So yeah, no, I'm all
That's a
good
good
with Dame
one.
now.
Shout out to Lil Wayne. Shout out.
Lil Wayne's not doing Colorado concerts this year anymore. What happened there?
I mean, I think Lil Wayne is.
what happened there?
I think Lil Wayne is down under for a little bit right now after that week 1 announcement from Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Lil Wayne's a little down under. He posted it and everything, and he's a little sad. He's broken, is what he
was
expressed.
broken.
Oh, that's
Because he didn't get to do that.
He expressed that he's
The halftime
broken.
show?
Yeah, in New Orleans. He expressed that he's broken.
Gotcha.
Yep.
He'll be back in New Orleans in like 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, I did find it interesting that that Dame came back and was like, yeah. I'm really like it felt like an appreciation of, and he got obviously his 4 tribute videos the time he came back.
For sure.
And he's probably going to get another one this year when they
yeah.
come back. It's the only game that's on national TV for
Right.
the Blazers.
That's telling.
But I just thought it was an interesting moment on Friday, and it kind of got lost obviously in the football weekend of like, yeah, Dame was back, got an award, seemed very happy to be back, seemed very appreciative, and I can't imagine of like 2 icons in Maurice Lucas and Bill Walton that the foundation is named after and the award's named after, and those that would just give it away to a guy who requested a trade and left, but it kind of just shows that there's still that connection there.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, he's been back all summer. to be fair, and based on my experiences, I've been around him a time or 2 or 3 this summer, and the guy seems delighted to be here. And that was I've gotten to see him express his gratitude prior to even accepting that award from the Maurice Lucas Foundation and giving that speech. I got to DJ his birthday this summer. And obviously he did a bit of a speech there, talked about it there, but I think, it's just gratitude being back here. A lot of his family has been here the whole time, even when, he obviously had to go handle business in Milwaukee. And I think, he's always been pretty family oriented, and being around his loved ones and being in a city that he's been comfortable with and basically like grew up in, what I'm saying? Like, you grow up where you're from in Oakland in his case, and then you go to college in Utah, and then you basically become an adult here in Portland, and majority of your adult life has been here in Portland. So all the way around, I think the sentimental value that Portland holds in his life, in his world, and even his family now is pretty unmatched. And I don't know if a ring could replace that. Doesn't mean a ring wouldn't make him happy. And I think he definitely wants to go get a ring and bring one back here and let it be known I got mines. But I don't think it would ever replace the sentimental value that Portland holds to him and in his heart. And he shows it. He continues to give back. He continues to do events. He continues to touch the people out here, even while donning a different uniform now once the NBA season comes around.
It is going to be interesting to see where the Blazers head and kind of where his career heads, and if in fact, because I would imagine there's a lot of fans that would be more than happy to welcome him back with open arms. I get the sense that at some point he would like to come back if the Blazers were a competitive team. They're not right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're on that
All we need is capture the flag.
Yeah,
baby.
they're on that capture the flag path right now.
You get him. Maybe Dame's like, hey.
But I'm just wondering, like, over the next 2 to 3 years, like how I don't know how to figure it out. I don't know how it would work out, but it is an interesting extra little dynamic.
Yeah, it would be a lot to figure out.
Yeah.
And from the basketball front, I don't quite know how he would figure that out yet. I don't full on know where he stands, when it comes to I know he's got a whole ton of great relationships here in Portland, and obviously still within the Blazers organization. He was a little sour, it seemed like, about leaving. And so, obviously there's probably some patchwork that would need to be done with him in the Blazers front office a little bit. But I think, as doable. Again, especially if he can go out there and actually win, which is not outside of the realm of possibility for him. But ultimately, I think, but the reason why I think that patchwork can be done too is, again, because the sentimental value that Portland holds. And I think, his love for Portland is bigger than that. Heck, I even was there. I was on stage when they had y'all folks right over here in this office is the Jam in 107.5 Summer Jam at the Moda Center. E40 performed. He brought Dame out to perform, and Dame at that time, he was on the microphone, rapped his verse or whatever, and was like, "Portland, y'all miss me yet?" Like, I witnessed all of that. And so I think his love for Portland would trump any, relationships. Again, majority of them already being good ones, but I think, he'll come back by any means necessary, especially if he can go win one on the road.
Okay, other thing I wanted to dive into, because obviously I am college football obsessed, and obviously in September we are a football obsessed show, and the big news last week was that they are going to be rebuilding the Pac-12. They're going to be rebuilding the Pac-12. There are now 6 names, and they're currently, and we all focus, and understandably, because football is the moneymaker on football, but we were thinking about it today because Brenden and I got into a rabbit hole of then what happens to the Mountain West, what happens to the Big Sky, and so on and so forth. And you are not only the Rip City Remix, but you've called games for Portland State. Big Sky basketball. It is interesting to see if, in fact, there is kind of a trickle-down effect from this football reshuffling and figuring out of the conferences, the realignment of the conferences, what it might happen in basketball. But just from a basketball perspective, new Pac-12 kind of is going to be interesting because San Diego State's in.
They're good.
They're very good.
Yeah.
Boise has had some looks in the past where they've been okay. Fresno still trying to relive that Tark the Shark magic. Hasn't quite hit. Colorado State's, but I know that UNLV is one of those teams that they're kind of rumoring to be trying to bring in to add. Memphis is another one. Is Penny still at Memphis, or I think he might have gotten in trouble?
Penny, I think, is still there. I think he hadn't gotten in trouble or something a little bit, but I think he's still there, yeah.
But Memphis is a team, so I'm kind of fascinated, obviously from the football perspective, but like what it could mean from a basketball perspective of kind of rebuilding that Pac-12. And then what does that mean for the Mountain West? Does the Mountain West maybe look to then bring into the Big Sky? What happens to Big Sky teams? It is, I know it's a football story, but we all forget. And I remember I was talking to somebody, I think this weekend. They're like, oh yeah, that's right. All the other sports have to play in these conference games.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Because football, it's once a week. You get on the plane, especially obviously at the FBS level. But men's and women's basketball, they all got to play in these conferences too.
Yeah, and I think those conferences have become pretty good. I mean, you obviously talk about primarily the Mountain West, a lot of Mountain West schools coming over. You think about the other conferences in the West Coast, the Big Sky, the WCC. Those conferences have actually done really well. Obviously they're in the West Coast, but they have teams that go to the tournament and go on tournament runs. Primarily, you talk about San Diego State. They've kind of become like a tournament darling over the last decade or so. And so I do think that, it'll help the Pac-12 having some of these teams that'll be coming over from these very viable conferences that don't always get the notoriety, but compete at a really high level, and I think are going to be able to shake some things up and make some noise and really try to help the West Coast, get back to a little bit more prominence, especially being that the Pac-12 lost just about everybody, and the UCLAs, the Oregons, the USCs, you name it. And so I think I think it's really good basketball that's been happening in these conferences out west that don't always get the credit, and I think this is an opportunity for some of that credit to be given because there's some tournament schools that'll be rocking in the Pac now.
I wonder what happens to Gonzaga, because their name has been brought up a couple of different times. I believe.
No football, though, right?
Yeah, so I believe the Big 12 brought up the idea of bringing both Gonzaga and UConn into the Big 12, but obviously UConn plays football, but they would be an independent, but only for basketball and maybe some other sports. And then Brenden Brenden, was it Scott Barnes? I don't know if it was Scott Barnes or if it was someone else that said that all the additional teams or schools that are going to bring in to the new Pac-12, yeah, they have to have football. So Gonzaga, I think that was Scott Barnes who said that. So Gonzaga clearly not on that list.
Right.
And I think Gonzaga's all right. Like, they just hang out in the West Coast Conference, win it every single year.
Yeah, pretty much.
Recruit at an incredibly high level, go to the tournament, make a run. But I'm wondering, with all the money that's out there, and look, football is still the moneymaker.
Mm-hmm.
I am interested to see, does anything happen to Gonzaga? The fact that they don't kind of have that football counterpart, but they are, in terms of a school that could be got, because I think they could be, they're the biggest name brand of a basketball school as anybody out there
for sure
that could be got.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
Them and UConn, I think.
No, yeah, I think that is interesting. I think because I do still think, though, not having a football program hurts them being able to shuffle around a little bit. And if I'm Gonzaga, like, I'm not really in a rush to leave because what's been happening over here in the WCC has been working for us.
Yeah.
So
it's a pretty good formula.
Yeah, it's like I would rather continue to win and then make tournament runs rather than go and try to play in the best conference in the country and potentially end up being, one of the better teams in the conference, but maybe like closer to middle of the pack-ish and potentially, hurt our chances of being able to be a well-known team when it comes to playing in March. So if I'm them as a basketball program, I'm not in a rush to leave at all. Not at all. Play those teams in March that are in the Big 12 and all of that. We'll see you in March.
And that TV money's nice, though.
Yeah.
You get some of that TV. But
it is.
I don't know if Gonzaga's hurting, though, for
I don't think so. I think they're doing all right. They got a really good fan base over there, in Spokane. It's a basketball town.
Well, and it's a private school.
It's a private school. They're
Catholic
doing good.
church.
For sure.
That whole thing.
They'll be fine.
Played a couple more times.
Yeah.
That'd be perfectly fine.
I didn't know Gonzaga had a religious connotation to it.
What's that?
I didn't know Gonzaga had a religious connotation to it.
For
really?
sure.
That makes a little bit more sense now.
Yeah.
All right. It is Tuesday. Before we wrap up the big show, because we got a special Ebony and Ivory version of the RCM mailbag, do want to let you know it's also Ticket Tuesday. That's right. Each and every Tuesday afternoon. That's later today. Rip City Drive has got you a chance to win tickets to an upcoming Thorns game, not only today, but every Ticket Tuesday. So tune in to Rip City Drive with Chad and Dwight. Also, speaking of Chad and Dwight, they are going to be bringing the show to Haven Spa Pool and Hearth in Clackamas. That's Friday, September the 27th from 3 to 6 as they broadcast live to fill the Viking Spa with new and gently used sports balls for the Boys and Girls Club of the Portland metro area. All the details at ripcityradio.com. RCM Mailbag Ebony and Ivory version next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, before we wrap up the show, I want to let you know once again, Friday, September the 27th, Rib City Drive bringing the show to Haven Spa Pool and Hearth in Clackamas. That is September the 27th. Dwight and Chad will be broadcasting live, and they're asking you to help fill the Viking Spa with new and gently used sports balls. That's all for the Boys and Girls Club of the Portland metro area. All the details at ribcityradio.com. Devon Pouncey, again, live in studio as he is Tuesdays here on The Big Show, and the way we wrap up the show is with the RCM mailbag, and we have a special twist because Devon and I come from very different cultural backgrounds, but as friends, we get to ask questions that maybe some of you will be uncomfortable asking.
Yeah.
Because we know each other, we get to ask these questions, and maybe we'd all learn and find some new stuff out. And,
for sure.
And also maybe encourage other people's out there to, as they say, engage in a dialogue.
Yeah.
So we call it Ebony and Ivory. Let's go. All right. I've asked this question before, whether things were cultural or regional. I'm going to ask if this is cultural or maybe generational.
Okay.
As I am both old and white. Is there a lot of trash talk going on Instagram? I know that Twitter is a place where everybody yells and argues, and it's a disgusting, dirty cesspool. But then I saw the thing with Shedeur Sanders and Colorado State, and that him and the quarterback of Colorado State weren't shaking hands, and it was over an Instagram beef. Are the kids arguing on Instagram?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. They're
I must not be doing Instagram the right way, then.
Yeah, it's just that they're...
I see a picture of a dog, I like it.
They're beefing in the comments, where on Twitter, I think you could just kind of brain dump and hope somebody sees it and reacts to it. On Instagram, in those comments, things do get tricky. And then again, I think Instagram is different because you're responding to videos or clips. Mm-hmm. It's in response to videos and clips, and people like to post the messy stuff, and the receipts are kind of there. Where Twitter, I think,
that was what Shannon Sharp did, right? He posted No,
he went live. He went live.
Wow.
Shannon went live. He did. He took it a whole nother direction. Please do.
Can I say something?
That was insane.
As the resident old in here, I've never gone on Instagram Live ever in my life.
I have. Plenty of times.
I've seen it.
Not like Shannon, but I have plenty of times.
It pops up on my phone. And it says Pounce is live, and I'm like, let's see what Pounce is doing.
Yeah, usually DJing live or something.
And then, but I've never gone. He said he didn't know, and you've been on Instagram Live. It's like 4 different taps,
it's some
right?
steps. It takes some steps for sure.
He did that on purpose, didn't he? He did that on purpose. Brenden, have you heard about the Shannon Sharp Instagram Live?
Have I heard about it?
Okay, I don't know.
Speaking of the guy, he's on TV.
Yeah, he's right there.
I didn't know ESPN was back on DirecTV.
He did that on purpose, right?
I don't know if he did it on purpose, but I'm also again, we've seen this a lot. I know there were a lot of people. It's it went public, but that you think he's the first man to have that situation happen? Maybe live.
But see, that's what I'm saying. As an old who, I don't know how Instagram Live works. I've never gone on it. I'm worried about, am I going to have my phone on one day? And hit a wrong button?
I would put it this way, Justin, and I said this to everyone. Maybe don't have your phone near you when you're getting intimate. I think it's probably a good word of wise anyway.
I'm worried about stuff I say, though. I'm worried about go to the bathroom. There's a lot of places I take my phone that I don't want Instagram Live.
Okay, so I gotta tell a quick story real quick. I had a friend, and we're good friends, and this maybe a month or two ago. He plays in the MLB. He's in the MLB circuit.
Gotcha.
And I follow him on Twitter, and Twitter, you can have some pretty explicit content pop up on your timeline that aligns with some of the activities that Shannon Sharp was was engaged in, and
going to town, man.
And he retweeted it. Accidentally, he retweeted it, and so my first reaction when seeing it on my timeline is wait, does he know he retweeted this, or was it a finger slip? Because he was engaged in whatever he was engaged in.
More ways than one, yeah.
And a lot could have happened, and I'm like, well, what do I do? Do I DM him? Do I just let it rock? And then I'm like, nah, I can't let him rock. I got to DM him. And of course, He said it was an accidental finger slip, which I could imagine being the case on Twitter. It makes a little bit more sense.
That I understand.
For sure.
I'm on the Twitter.
Yes.
And you scroll, and there are times I've liked something like, oh, no.
Okay, now can I say this?
So like, I've done that.
Instagram Live is a little harder to explain.
Yeah.
Obviously not great, but we've learned recently on social media, you can kind of say and do anything now. And not real, like, again, like... Like this, there's nothing wrong here. It's a little embarrassing, but there's
Paul Pierce wouldn't agree.
Yeah, Paul.
He's a little mad.
Paul Pierce got canceled.
Well, that's true.
He got canceled.
Well,
but
I think times are easing up a little bit.
I agree
Paul
with you
Pierce,
that times are easing up. I do agree with you, but I also think Paul Pierce is a little different because we could clearly see Paul Pierce was intentional about wanting to show off what he had going on live.
On your Twitter thing,
yes.
Another story. This was back when you could see likes.
Yeah.
Now you can't do that anymore.
For sure.
Can't see likes anymore. And there was a prominent quarterback who was very concerned about his public persona.
Yeah.
May have liked something of a racy nature on the Twitter.
Yeah.
Which might have just been...
It could happen.
Also could have been...
Algorithms, baby.
Hey,
algorithms.
Buddy that runs my Twitter, make sure you know which account is which account.
Right.
But, yeah, I could see the Instagram Live.
It's a little different than a retweet or a like. And so I'm like, I don't know if I can give him the grace.
I don't know. Something smells a little off. Anyways, do you have a...
Yeah, I was wondering. I mean, I have a hoodie on right now. You have a hoodie on as well. And is it hoodie season?
It's hoodie season.
It is,
getting cold, man.
Because I get mixed messages here in Oregon on when hoodie season is or isn't based on how the majority dress out here. And we all know who the majority is around these parts. And so... You have a hoodie on. I couldn't wait to put my hoodie on and get back into hoodie season. But are we officially here?
I think so. Now, I have the. It's not an issue. It's just the situation of we get here early in the morning.
True.
It's cold.
Yes.
It's chilly in the morning. I want to hold on to T-shirt weather as long as possible.
Got it.
And I've been trying to.
You and many others.
But
here.
It's too cold in the morning now.
Yeah, okay.
It's got that September bite in the air.
For sure.
And so, yeah.
Okay. All right.
I say
it's a simple one for me this week.
If there's football in the air, hoodies shall be worn.
Okay.
And
all right.
Yeah, it's hoodie season.
Okay. All right.
But I go with the light. Sure. I got the lightweight one.
You do got yeah. I see that.
Brenden, you're a quarter zip guy, right? You like the quarter zip over the hoodie?
Today was I told you I just need to start warming up the car. I think it needs to be need to throw the little puffer vest on over too because it's getting cold in the morning, man. And I am Justin knows this, Devon. I'm a weather snob. I am grumpy 8 months out of the year in Oregon because it's cold and wet.
Yeah.
So, I'll be open and honest. Sunshine makes Brenden happy. Everything else, not so much.
Yeah. It makes. I've heard there's statistics to back that up.
That's true.
All right. I think that's it. Good show, everybody.
I'm with it for sure. I think we get out on time for
yes,
the first
sir.
time.
There we go. The Wake Up and Win podcast, where you can find Devon. You can also find him on TV calling college football games. Rip City Remix around the corner.
That's right.
Which we'll check out as well, Portland State. So you can find Devon everywhere. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Tuesday, everybody. We're back at it tomorrow morning, bright and early on 620 Rip City Radio.